Okay, so today we're going to look in at the short game, specifically those short pitches inside 30 yards in around the green. We're going to take a look at Luke Donald, and we're going to highlight two things that he does really, really well in his technique that a lot of times players who are struggling with strike just don't do enough of around the green. Okay, so two things that we can take away from Luke Donald's short game technique. The first is quite a simple one, and it's simply just width of stance. Oftentimes when players are struggling with their short game, struggling with their contact, their width of stance is just far too wide. So make sure when you're setting up to your short game shots that there's about room for only 2 golf balls in between your heels. That's a really good reference point. That's going to help you get that narrow stance, which you're going to find it much easier to control your low point. The second piece that we're going to take away from Luke Donald's technique is going to be how he's moving his pivot, how he's moving his torso and his pelvis back and through the ball. So we're going to take him up to the backswing. You're going to notice he's going to begin to move towards the target even before he makes transition. So his pressure and his weight is falling towards the target. Even more so then in downswing. And then as he goes into his finish, he's going to stand up nice and tall. So he's allowing himself to extend and rotate through the shot. So if you notice where his head is there at setup and where his head is traveling to in finish. So he's allowing his pivot to extend through the ball as he rotates. Often players who struggle with that strike will keep their head down for too long, which limits the extension and limits the rotation. So when we keep our pivot moving well, it's much easier to maintain our arm structure, which creates a lovely hand path and an arcing of that hand path back and through. So you can kind of notice there how the arc of the hands is really being controlled by the pivot, by the rotation and that extension. So allowing yourself to get into that taller position in the finish. So I hope that analysis helped, guys. So next time you get out to the short game area, first of all, let's get that stance in nice and narrow. Use the club width as a guidance. So try and get the club in between your feet and really get the feet in that narrow. The second thing, get comfortable with using your pivot and extending as you go into the finish. If you're a player that normally keeps their head down through the shot, this is going to feel very, very different. So plenty of practice swings, getting used to that feeling of extending through the shot as the club brushes the grass down where the ball is going to be. Once you get comfortable and you hear and feel the club interacting with the ground the same way every time, then introduce the golf ball and see how you go.